All right, Matthew 25, please. Matthew 25. Believe it or not, we'll be in verse 23 again. And Brother Wolf and I guarantee you, did not collaborate in any way, but we'll be back, the same verse. So Matthew 25, 23. I have a list here of Forbes' top 5 New Year's resolutions for 2024. Would anybody like to venture a guess? What's on the list? Lose weight, okay? That's number 4. There's 3 more on top of that. Make more money, okay. Number 2 is improve finances. Any others? Exercise, okay. Number 1 is improve fitness, which I guess is different than losing weight. I don't know, but. All right, 2 more. All right, number 5 is improve diet. Like I said, 4 is lose weight. 3 is improve mental health. And then 2 is improve finances. 1 is improve fitness. So there you have it, Forbes' top 5 New Year's resolutions, which honestly, these are very vague. So if you're into goal setting, these are not good goals. You need more specificity, but anyway. All right, so Matthew 25, we'll be there in a minute. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever set a New Year's resolution that you didn't keep? A lot of chuckles, yeah, okay. So maybe it wasn't kept due to a lack of diligence, or maybe it was. Or maybe it wasn't kept simply because life happens, right? Maybe you tried to improve your finances, and you set that goal, and then you get some medical bills that you weren't expecting, or you have to pay for some car repairs or funeral expenses or loss of a job, perhaps, to set you back financially when, in fact, you wanted to move forward. Maybe you want to improve your fitness, but then you suffer sickness or an illness of some sort or injury, or maybe just higher priorities have consumed more of your time than you expected, and you weren't able to invest the time into your fitness like you wanted to. That's part of life, and I think we all know that. Life just seems to work out that way. New Year's resolutions often have a way of just falling apart, don't they? Sometimes it's our fault, sometimes it's not. The honest truth is you and I have much less control of our lives than we think we do. Hardship and trials have a way of thwarting even the most well-intentioned of plans. Tonight, I want to look at one thing that we do have control over. So we'll be here in Matthew chapter 25, verse 20. So I wrote down verse 21. It's actually the same thing as 23. We'll go to 23, whatever. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and, let's try this again, good and faithful, thank you, faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful. Over a few things I will make thee ruler, over many things enter thou into the joy of the Lord. Faithful. Did you know that you have control over whether you're faithful or not? It's your choice. If you do suffer from disease or illness, you can still be faithful. If you do lose your job, heaven forbid, but you can still be faithful. If your teenage kid rebels and hurts you, it hurts, but you can still be faithful. These other New Year's resolutions that we looked at here at the beginning, they might get tossed to the side and say, this isn't quite as important as I thought it would be, or do you know what, I just can't do this year. We can toss those things to the side, but we can still be faithful, and you can still please God no matter what life brings this year. So what does it mean to be faithful? It's a really good question. When I think of somebody who's faithful, I think of someone who is consistent, someone who perseveres, someone who holds on to his faith, his or her faith, someone who is going to hold on no matter what in the midst of a trial. And, we're often inclined to watch a person like that and to cheer and say, oh, good job, you kept the faith. Good job. You did what you had to. But I want to propose the question, is that God's definition of faithful? So that verse we just read is part of a larger parable. I think we're all familiar with that parable. Man leaves 3 different servants, a number of talents. The first servant has 5 talents, second servant has 2 talents, third servant has 1 talent. And the first servant gets 5 talents, and what does he do with those 5 talents? Doubles them. heard someone say doubles. All right, so he doubles them, right? He invests. We just heard about investment. He invests them. He makes 5 talents more and returns 10 talents upon his 5. Second servant, what does he do with his 2? Doubles it. Okay, so he gets 2 more talents and returns 4 on the 2. And the third servant is the one who does what? Hides it. He hides it out of fear. Becomes afraid and he hides it. But he holds on to it, though. And you and I might be tempted to look at that and say, well, good job, you held on to it. You know, you held on to the faith. Great job. And we might be tempted to cheer that sort of behavior. But in verse 26, if we can just look there real quickly, his Lord answered and said unto him, thou, 2 words, wicked and slothful. God wasn't pleased with that at all. He says, you've been wicked, you've been slothful. He took that 1 talent, gave it to, or in the parable, the master gave it to the man who had the 10. So could it be that God's definition of faithfulness has everything to do with reproduction, not necessarily just holding on? Reproducing our faith in others, investment into the lives and the souls of others. Kind of brings things up to a whole other level, doesn't it? It's not just a matter of holding on and just persevering and being consistent. It's about investment. It's about reproduction. So I have a couple minutes here. I'm actually almost done, but I was telling my wife earlier, at work, you know, we have a lot of operations, and as a manager, you know, I'm in charge of making sure we have enough capacity and that sort of a thing. There's one back in August this last year. We have a printing operation where we screen print, you know, windshields, these bulletproof windshields, and the man that has been working there for 15 years. Great worker. He knows the operation inside and out. Phenomenal worker. As long as he's there, everything is working fine, and we're able to keep up. But he actually contracted a disease, and he was put on disability. And we instantly fell into the hole in terms of capacity. And our revenue went down, EBITDA went down, everything went down. And it was a big deal. And in talking to those that have known him for a long time, they say the same thing. Look, he knows what he's doing, but he will not train anybody else. And because of that, his value was actually, in a way, diminished. And obviously, he wasn't fired or anything. But because of his fear and because of the fact that he didn't want to invest in others and he didn't want to possibly lose his job is probably what he was thinking. Because of that, it hurt the company. And as a manager, I have to watch that and make sure that we're trying to do as much training as we can. But we can fall into the same thing where we're just so focused on ourselves that we become less valuable to God than we should be because we're not investing in others, because we're not reproducing and being faithful, in essence. So, in conclusion, will you make a New Year's resolution this year? Maybe you will. Will you resolve to be faithful this year? Unlike these other, New Year's resolutions that I covered, you can actually control the fulfillment of the resolution to be faithful. It's your choice, regardless of life circumstances. Next question is, will you adopt God's definition of faithfulness? Not just holding on to your faith, but reproducing your faith in others. So appreciate your time. This is what God's challenged me on, recently, and hope it's a challenge to you as well. Thanks.